Welcome to Extraordinary Creatives. I'm Kerry Hand, 35 years as a gallerist, curator and institutional director, now coaching artists and creative leaders to build creative lives that reward them. 2 episodes a week on audio and video, an honest conversation with an extraordinary creative about their work and their life, and a shorter deep dive into the mindset and strategy questions creative people actually face. Thanks for being here. Let's get into it. This episode is part of a 9-part series on commissions, how to prepare for them, respond to them, deliver them, and crucially, how to stop them burning you out. If you haven't followed the podcast yet, please hit follow so you don't miss an episode. Today is episode 2 of 9. The 5 mistakes I see every artist make when pricing commissions. I see it every single week in coaching conversations, in the Mastermind Circle, in private messages from artists I've never met who have found my work. Different artists, different medium, different decade of experience, same 5 mistakes every time. So if you listened to episode 1, you remember I opened with a story about a textile artist mid-career who sent me a costing for a corporate commission and told me he was embarrassed. Well, today we're opening up his costing. Not literally his numbers, but the 5 mistakes inside it, because every one of them will be familiar to you. So let me name them. Signature 1 is currency drift. He quoted the client in dollars. His costs were in pounds. His studio is in pounds. His materials are in pounds. His taxes are in pounds. But his fee, the number he was going to get paid, was in dollars. So if you quote in dollars and your costs are in pounds, the value of your work slides every time the exchange rate moves. You're letting the currency markets price your work. Here's a specific example. An artist I worked with quoted a £20,000 commission in euros because it felt thoughtful to a European client. Over the 6 months between quoting and invoicing, the exchange rate moved enough that she lost about 8% of her fee. £1,600 gone for no reason except she forgot that her costs were in pounds and her fee wasn't. So the correction: always quote in the currency your costs are in. Convert the final figure for the client as a courtesy, never as the basis of the deal. If they want to pay in their currency, fine. The conversion happens at their end at the point of invoice on a rate you specify, not continuously eroded across a 6-month production period. Signature 2, pricing only the visible hours. He priced the hours at the loom. That was it. Let me make this concrete. A textile commission, the client sees the finished piece, maybe a hanging, maybe a set of panels. That's what they are paying for in their head. What actually happened between the inquiry and the delivery? Well, concept development, site visits, material sourcing, 3 sample pieces, one of which didn't work. Dye tests, colour meetings, 14 emails, some of them really long. A 2-hour call where the client changed their mind about the palette. 2 weeks of drying and finishing time, during which the studio was effectively blocked for other work. Packing materials, transport, insurance on transit, a final email chain about installation. The client sees the finished work. You lived a 3-month shadow life around making it. Your fee has to reflect the shadow life, not just the visible outcome. Write it down. Every time you complete a commission, log the actual hours you spent, not the ones you remember. Most artists I do this exercise with discover they've been pricing at about 40% of what the work actually took. 40%. Imagine taking a 60% pay rise across your entire commission's income. That's what's available to you if you price what you actually do rather than what the client can imagine you doing. Signature 3, pricing by the day. This is the mistake I see most often, and I want to be really clear about it because there are organisations I respect who publish recommended day rates every year, and my view sits slightly in tension with theirs. Day rates anchor your income to your availability. They tell the client that what they're buying is a portion of your calendar rather than your thinking, your judgment, your years of accumulated understanding. They make your income finite in the most literal sense. You only have so many days in a year to sell. And day rates consistently underprice creative work because the invisible labour, the decades of practice that produced the current clarity, the failures that informed the current decisions, none of that appears in a day rate. All of that is given away for free. When artists and creative practitioners move from day rates to project fees or to flat fees based on the scope of the commission, two things happen. The fee goes up and the quality of the relationship improves because the conversation has shifted from time to value, from how long will this take to what is this worth to the person receiving it. This is not about inflating fees, it's about accuracy. A bespoke commission is not a unit of your time. It's the product of a lifetime of practice brought to bear on a specific question. Price that, not the hours. If you currently use a day rate at all, treat it as a floor for the absolute smallest, simplest pieces of work. For anything bespoke, anything commissioned, anything that genuinely draws on your practice, move to project pricing. It's the single most important shift that most artists can make in how they charge for their work. Signature 4. Bundling one-offs with repeatable work. Our textile artist had a brief that contained two fundamentally different kinds of work. Some bespoke hangings designed specifically for the hotel, and some repeatable panels which could be produced at a different pace with different materials logic for different areas of the property. He priced them all at the same unit rate. One-offs are not repeats. A bespoke piece carries different time, different risk, different material intensity. If you bundle them into the same unit pricing as additioned or repeatable elements, you give the bespoke piece away, always. The logic is simple. Additioned or repeatable work can be priced per unit because the cost of designing is amortized across the series. The 50th unit takes a fraction of the time of the first. A one-off piece has no second unit to help spread the cost. So the entire cost of conception, development and risk sits on that single object. The correction: price bespoke separately from repeatable. If a commission contains both, treat them as two commissions with two different pricing logics. Make the distinction visible to the client. No serious client expects otherwise if you present it clearly. Signature 5. Negotiating over email. And this is the big one. No discovery call, no video conversation, just writing back and forth until agreement emerged. Every commission disaster I've ever coached on can be traced back to a decision made over email. Email flattens tone, strips context, and lets both parties walk away with completely different understandings of what was agreed. One party reads a sentence one way, the other party reads it another way. Neither knows that the other has a different understanding. Weeks later, the work is being made under two completely different sets of expectations, and nobody realises until the day of delivery when one of them is disappointed. A 30-minute video call doesn't let that happen. You can see confusion on a face, hear hesitation in a voice. Stop and ask curious questions. You can say, when you said ambitious, what did you mean by that? You can say, can you tell me more about what you're hoping to feel when you walk past this every day? You can notice the things that email will never show you. The discovery call is not a nicety, it's the safety mechanism. And here's the bonus insight. If a prospective client will not take a 30-minute call to discuss a commission that's going to cost them thousands and take months to produce, that itself is information. Serious clients take the call. Tire kickers avoid it. The requirement of a call is already doing the filtering work for you. So the core shift: 5 signatures, 1 underlying problem. The problem is not that you're bad at pricing. The problem is that you're responding to commissions when you should be shaping them. You're not responding to briefs. You're filtering them, shaping them, and sometimes quietly refusing them. A properly built commission practice treats every inquiry as a proposition to be assessed, not an instruction to be followed. Your job is not to produce what the client has asked for. Your job is to decide whether what the client has asked for is something you want to make, can make well, can make profitably, and can make without destroying your own practice in the process. A good commission process protects three things: your time, your practice, your sanity. If any part of the process endangers any one of those three, the process is wrong, not the client, the process. So before next week, one piece of homework. Take your last 3 commissions. Walk each of them through the 5 signatures: currency, visible hours, day rate, bundling, email only. How many mistakes did you make on each? Most artists find they made 3 or 4 out of every 5 on every commission. That's not a failing, that's the absence of a scaffold. And next week, we start building it. So we're going to move into the first practical stage, your commission ecosystem. The 4 decisions you make before any inquiry arrives that turns every future pricing conversation into a simple, calm, confident decision. I'll walk you through the annual target, the 3-tier menu, the rules list, and the internal clarity work, with worked examples from a portrait painter, a brand designer, and artists working at the scale of major public commissions. If you don't want to miss it, please hit follow or subscribe now so it lands in your feed automatically. If any of this was useful to you, please drop me a line. I read every message and I respond to everyone too. Thanks so much for listening. Until next time. Thank you for spending this time with me. If something in this episode landed for you, please share it with one person who needs to hear it. Come and find me on Instagram at Kerryhand, that's CERIHAND, and join thousands of creatives reading my weekly newsletter at kerryhand.com/subscribe for practical advice you can use this week straight to your inbox every Friday. Until then, keep making the work that only you can make.